So once again, welcome to Academics with Foghorn for the 26th of May, 2018. If you are new to the Aurora Republic, we are a role-playing organization within the game of Star Citizen, and we are a lawful good organization that if you are interested in hearing more, please let us know, and we would be more than happy to tell you all about it. For those that are already Aurora Republic members, welcome to you guys too. I already went over the rules of engagement. We are live in Discord and on Twitch. If you are going to post a question in Twitch, remember that there's an 8-second delay from when I say something here before it'll come out on Twitch. If you're listening, if you are up in both Twitch and Discord, I would suggest you go mute on Discord mute on the sound coming out of Twitch so you're not hearing my voice twice, and mute on your mic in Discord until it's time to ask a question. We'll keep this short and sweet. We're going to go over comm discipline, identification declarations, and some aviation flight basics. Try to keep this about 20 minutes, and then get out into the verse and go do some flying as a group. So this should be fun. Alrighty. All right, so of course, comm discipline. We're going over vocab, boys. I know this isn't the most exciting, but it's got to be done, and then we'll hopefully get to using some of this tonight. Okay, so when we're talking identification, that is identification of both friends and foes, and how we communicate to each other, what it is we're looking at, and what it is we're potentially shooting at, and how we communicate that to up the chain of command, and to our bros, so that we shoot cogently and do not commit fratricide. So, the first one is a bandit, which is fairly obvious. That is a confirmed enemy. The nuance of the bandit term is that this does not imply clearance to engage. That's a different term. So, bandit is just a confirmed enemy. Bogey is an unknown contact, which could possibly be neutral or could suspectedly be an enemy, or anytime only portion of the ID matrix is complete, such as if any sensors or the ID matrix has come back with some sort of a lack of friendly, and we'll talk more to those terms here in a minute. Chicks is the term for friendly spacecraft. Cyclops is any sort of a drone or UAV, which we know there's going to be drones running off of things like the Vulcan and the Reclaimer. So that's a Cyclops. Declare is an inquiry as to the identification of a sensor target at a specific location, usually if we're using some sort of off-board sensor, such as AWACS in the real world, or something similar that has bigger, better sensors than our little fighter does. Estimate is exactly what that word means. If we tag estimate onto the end of any sort of information, that lets the players out there know that this is our best guess, and there might be a certain factor of error in that. Eyeball is a colloquial term for the fighter with the primary visual identification responsibility. If we're running some sort of a tactic where it's going to involve a visual identification, in other words, that you're going to have to fly in close enough to actually see what type of craft this is and what its identification is, then that's that VID, that visual identification maneuver. The guy who's performing that is known as the eyeball. Usually is worked in conjunction with a shooter, where one person is, where the shooter is sitting in the weapon employment zone, right in the heart of the weapon employment zone, when the eyeball goes whipping by the potential target, so that if he goes hostile, then the shooter immediately hammers down. Okay, friendly. Just exactly what the word means. That's friendly aircraft. Don't shoot that guy. That's called fratricide. And oh, by the way, that usually gets you semi-beat to death by your bros when you commit fratricide. A guerrilla is a large force of indeterminate numbers and formations, or just any extremely large group of obvious enemy force. You know, that's a guerrilla west. You know, big means that you got probably more than 2 or 3 formations worth. You know, the whole mother load is coming down on you. Hostile is a bandit, but with clearance to engage. So there's that caveat I made earlier about bandits doesn't necessarily mean you have clearance to engage, but hostile does. Hostile is a bandit, and you're cleared to whale down on that guy. ID, identification, all of that is about talking about what the identity of the target is, or identification is complete. So if there is some sort of an ID matrix that we're working through, and we may play with some of this later. So don't let yourself get too wrapped around the axle about this right at the moment. But if there was some sort of an identification matrix that we were working that says, okay, if we have some sort of point of origin criteria, like we saw the contact originally start in bad guy land, we call that outlaw. So he starts off in bad guy land. Now we interrogate his identification friend or foe somehow with some sort of sensor, and it goes, yep, he's definitely not squawking any of the friendly codes. I don't know what he's squawking. That would be called a positive enemy indication. At those, if the rules of engagement said you needed a lack of friendly and a positive enemy, which is fairly common in the world today, then identification would be complete that this is definitely a bandit. And whoever completed that matrix first and realizes, okay, that contact is a bandit, their call when they key the mic would be ID bandit or ID hostile. And when somebody calls that on that contact, that from now on that contact is now tagged as hostile every time anybody talks about it. So interrogate would be a command to interrogate the contact's IFF. With the way these sensors are presently working in 3.1.4, all of this stuff is fairly automated, which is good. But these are the type of things that those sensors are doing behind the displays to figure out whether that contact is friend or foe. Leaker is a term for a hostile contact or a hostile group that has successfully managed to get past the friendly combat air patrols. So that's a bad thing. That means that the bad guys are in your backfield, and all of your fighter cover is on the other side of them. Outlaw is a bogey that has met the point of origin criteria. Point of origin means, did we first see this contact in bad guy territory? If that is, then that could be one part of a bigger matrix of whether or not we decide this guy is a bad guy or a good guy. So there you go. Point of origin is sort of that concept. Where did it start? Package is a collection of groups, contacts, or formations organized into some sort of a specific purpose or task, like a strike package or a sweep package or a bomber package. That's that term. Oh, here we go. If you have some sort of system on your if your system figures out what type of craft that is, that's called a print. So that one pretty much happens almost automatically at the beginning when you first put a contact on a guy, and it takes a second there up in your visor, up on the right side of your visor, and then you can actually see the which type of spacecraft it is that shows up. So that's what you would call would be print Hornet, print Saber, print whatever when you see it come up. Rider. Now, Rider is an unknown contact that is following a specific route that is set specifically for friendlies. In modern aviation, before you go across the fence over into Indian country, you will have set up with in the rules of engagement, in the documents describing the operations you guys on, you'll have friendly routes to come back that, hey, if you get over there and your fighter craft gets damaged, for example, like maybe the IFF is inoperative, then just coming back across the fence is a good way to get yourself shot by your own guys, because your system is not identifying itself to your friends. So you come back on this specific route at prescribed speeds, altitudes, headings, all of that sort of stuff. And the friendly air cover that's manning that metaphorical fence, if they see a contact not squawking coming back on that route, then they're going to hold fire, and they're not going to just wail on it immediately. They're going to, wait a minute, that's a rider. We don't know. That's a bogey. That's a rider. We don't know. That might be a friendly guy whose jet is busted up from battle damage, and his IFF might be working. So they're going to probably come in and do a close aboard VID, shooter eyeball, the eyeball guy is going to come in close to get an eyeball on you and see what you really are. And if he comes in and obviously sees that you're friendly, then he's going to tell everybody that you're friendly for you. So that's what a rider is. Very, very, very important. Reported with whatever information. The identification of object or the contact, whatever information that is being reported by an off-board intelligence system. So it's not coming in from the AWACS's sensors. It's not coming in from any of the fighter sensors. If it's some sort of information that's coming in outside of our immediate flying community, then that would be tagged with the phrase, hey, reported, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and whatever the sort of information in the brackets is coming in via some other intelligence source. Yeah, thanks. Okay, shooter's the other half of that eyeball, that team. So the shooter's going to be the guy waiting to whale down on whoever the eyeball is going to go in and ID. Spades is the term whenever you interrogate somebody's IFF and it comes back without a friendly squawk on whichever modes and codes that you're interrogating. So that would be another piece of an ID matrix to figure out if this unknown contact is a hostile. Spitter is is a hostile fighter that is separating out from a furball, similar to leaker. Leaker is sort of on the macro scale of we have a 4-ship combat air patrol here, a 4-ship combat air patrol here, a 4-ship combat air patrol over there, and if a group makes it past all of that barrier of caps, then that's a leaker. Within a turning dogfight, if somebody separates out from that dogfight, then that guy would be termed a spitter. A spitter is usually an individual, and a leaker is usually a group. A group, however, can be a single. So that's kind of where sometimes that's a little confusing. Okay, last one here. Squawk. Squawk is your IFF. So if somebody tells you to, hey, squawk code, da-da-da-da-da, then you put that into your IFF and off you go. Squawking is the term when somebody's interrogating somebody and they do come back with at least one friendly motor code on their IFF, then may not necessarily be complete, have met the matrix of being considered friendly, but it's probably not a hostile. So squawking, mode 3 of 1211 would tell everybody that, okay, this guy is squawking something strange, but he's not squawking hostile. So you'd be suspicious in that situation that the guy's a stranger, aka a neutral, who's not part of this fight. It's an airliner that's driving right through a combat area, because that happens all the time. I know, bad example, but hey, you know what I'm saying. Stranger things have happened. Stranger, just what I said, an unidentified traffic that's not participating in this particular action. So that's going to be a neutral, in other words. Stranger traffic. Suspect on an unknown contact is where you're seeing strange things, like perhaps how the contact is behaving. It's moving on an intercept course towards friendly assets. That would be, possibly could be hostile intent. So that thing is suspect, but you usually haven't even barely started the ID matrix. So you guys I'm not really sure who this guy is, but I am seeing something suspicious. Unknown, exactly what the word means. We don't have any ID information on the guy yet, but we're working it. Working is the exact what it means. We're working the ID matrix. So if somebody goes, hey, declare bullseye, Humpty Frat at such and such distance, that and you're sitting here working on that contact, but you don't have an ID on him, and you'd come back and say working, or hey, bullseye 180 for 20 working, and that would let them know that, hey, we're working that guy right now. Okay, so that's quick and dirty on ID. There's a lot of things on the ID matrix that probably will never need to be said or used the way Star Citizen uses sensors at this point, but we know that they're constantly tweaking it, so wanted to go ahead and, for completeness, make sure I hit all of the parts that could possibly ever come up, and then we will learn as we go as they create more modes and codes and ways that the sensors work. Okay, so flight modes, we're just going to talk real quick about SCM, PRE, and HOV modes, as you'll see in there, and then we'll go fly. All right, so SCM, standard cruise mode, is what I call it. I think I've also heard it called space combat mode or some other gay thing like that. So standard cruise mode is what I call it because that sounds right. That's your normal normal flying profile. With your gear up, you'll have full throttle scheduling. You'll have full thruster scheduling for all 6 degrees of freedom, both rates and boosts. Pre is precision mode. You can think of that as takeoff and landing mode. In fact, it's automatically invoked once you put your gear down. Just like SCM is invoked as soon as you put your gear up. With your gear down, you have reduced throttle scheduling, so you're only up to 50 meters per second maximum, and no afterburner. Reduced thruster scheduling and all 6 degrees of freedom, including no boost. So it gives you much more precision maneuvering at a much slower speed, so you can come in and land or take off without, as we say in the aviation community, bring yourself into close proximity of the runway multiple times without apparent damage. Bring your aircraft within close proximity of the runway multiple times without apparent damage to either. The last one is hover mode. That's basically for the speeder bikes, which we've just recently have the mechanization of gotten good enough for us to be able to actually go play with, and it not just be a complete red hot poker in your eye. These are actually pretty fun. We went and go and played with them. So that's the grav lev floating the bike a few feet above the surface, and there's no gear. It's just a float, and these things actually work pretty well. You can cruise along pretty quick, and as you come up to rocks and things, it's looking out a few meters out ahead of the bike and just floats you right up on over top of it. You can actually run these things into objects if you go fast enough. So you can be in hover mode and you can use afterburner and exceed the ability of the system to look out ahead, see a boulder per se, and compensate and fly up over it before you come in contact with it. I think both Chamdren and I have successfully splattered ourselves at high speed on a speeder bike into the side of a big boulder to glorious fireworks-like death. It was awesome. Okay, so when you're in hover mode, you can go into SCM and fly the bike up away from the ground and start flying around like a spacecraft again. Basically, by doing a strafe up while you're flying, you have to hold it though. You have to hold up strafe for like greater than 1 second, I believe it is, and then it'll convert itself from hover mode into SCM. And now you can fly around just like you're flying any other spacecraft in atmosphere. And I think we actually flew it up pretty close to getting them out of atmosphere. But we also ran them out of gas and plummeted to our death from high altitude, which was also glorious. To convert it back to hover mode, you basically just fly it back down to within vicinity of the surface. And when it sees the ground within its sensor range, whoop, it converts itself into hover mode, and you're back, flying Luke Skywalker's speeder bike. Anywho, so that's the quick and dirty of the flight modes. It's one of the few things I hadn't think I had covered yet in any of our basic aviation series. Anyway, thank you guys very much for your time and attention. I hope it wasn't too silly and disjointed and boring, being a bunch of vocabulary. We'll go out and try to use it. To folks who are just watching us for the first time, again, welcome. And if you'd like to hear more about the Aurora Republic, a premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen, please contact any of us on Discord or on Spectrum or on the RSI website, or you can even go to our website, which is aurorarepublic.space, which is awesome. And or you can reach us via email at aurora.republic.org@gmail.com. And we'll have all of those contacts for those that are watching this on YouTube at a later date. We'll have all of that information in the comment section below. If you are a member of the Aurora Republic and you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel and followed us on Twitch, dude, what's wrong with you? So go ahead and follow your own people's content. I'm not the only one that blabbermouths out here onto Twitch. We got a few others that are going to start streaming and running academics and things for different stuff. So there will be more variation coming, and that's a wonderful thing. So anywho, that's it for Foghorn. I'm signing off here for the 26th of May, and I'm wishing you guys a very pleasant rest of your morning, afternoon, and or evening. Thank you.